The new section, 510, that we're looking at today is where we're going to find the equation of a line using the slope and 1 point of that line. So we don't have the equation, we need to find it. Sometimes, though, we don't even give you the slope. We'll just give you 2 points, and we'll say a line goes through point 12 and point 45. What's the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points? Well, if we have the slope, and we can use one of these points, we can actually go through a series of steps to get the equation. And let's talk about how we would actually find the slope. Well, sometimes it's given to you. If it's not, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's take these 2 points and basically plug them into this equation. If you need to go back and use a refresher of how to find the slope, go take a look at that. I'm not going to take a lot of time right now for that. There we go. And so 5 minus 2 is 3, and 4 minus 1 is 3. Basically, what that's telling me is that my slope, or m, equals positive 1. So what's my second step? Well, we actually take our information and we plug it into the point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. The m stands for the slope. We have the slope. And then you see the y1 and x1. Well, you should already be familiar with the idea that when we had, well, didn't mean to write in highlighter there, that when we were finding the slope, we took a look at these 2 points and we said this is point 1, this is point 2, and so this was x1, this is y1, this would have been x2, and this would have been y2. And so now, basically, I know what my x1 and y1 are. I know what my slope is, and so now I can go and plug in to these 3 spots in the equation. So what I've done here is I've rearranged the screen so that we can see it a little better. The point x1 came from this x value of this point, and the y value, y1, became the 2. So that's where my x1 and y1 came from. Where do we find the m, or the slope? We had to work that out ourselves. And so now comes the time to where we just go and we plug this into the equation. And so this y1 plugs in right here for this y1. Okay. The m, or the slope, plugs in right here where it's indicated in the equation. And then this last part, this x1, this 1 right here, plugs in right here for x1. So when we rewrite the equation, y minus, let's see, that's a 2, so 2 equals, what's my m? It's a 1, parentheses, x minus 1. And so that's what we're left with at this point. The next step that we do is we're trying to make it into slope-intercept formula. And so, excuse me, the slope-intercept form of the linear equation, we want to get the y all by itself. And I'm not going to write it as step 3. I just want you to be able to kind of flow through this. Let's go ahead and distribute. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And now we just pull down this side because we didn't do anything with it. And now you can see, oh yeah, if we just add 2, that'll make that minus 2 go away, but we've got to do it to the other side. And we're left with y equals 1x plus 1. And that's our equation. And we can actually graph it. And we're done with the whole setup. So a quick recap of what we actually did. We were given just 2 points, and we need to find the slope and use one of the points to find the equation. So we took the 2 points, we plugged them into this equation to find the slope. That got us our m. And we took one of these points. I could have used this one, but I just decided to go with this one because they were smaller numbers. I took this point, and that became my y1 and x1. Okay? And then we take that, and we plug it into this point slope formula. And now, after I've plugged them all in, I need to go and solve and get the y all by itself. So at this point, I know people have a lot of questions, so let's take a look at number 1 on your homework tonight. So here we go. Let's read the instructions. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that passes through the given point with the given slope. one of the first things I realized when I took a look at your homework sheet was, why did I have the word through there? I don't know. Normally they would just give you this point. It'd be 5, 4, and they give you the slope. And instead of writing slope, they could very easily just write an m and say, hey, m equals 3/5. And that's it. They expect you to come up with the formula. So if you remember, we have to find m. Here's the great part, but they've already given it to you. So do we need to use this formula to find out that the slope is 3/5? No, we don't. So the next step is, if you remember, plug all the values in. And this was left over from the last one, so let's go and change that. My slope this time is 3/5. And if you remember our x1 and y1 we got from the point where here's our points. This is the only point we have, so this is going to be x1 and this will be y1. So as a result, x1 will be a 5 and our y1 will be a 4. So this y1 should be a 4. So now that we've got all of our points and data all plugged in the correct way, let's take a look at this formula and plug in each one and get the y all by itself. That's all that we have left to do. So y1 will become a 4. Our slope, or m, will become 3/5. Yes, it will be a fraction, and that'll cause a different set of challenges. And our x1 will become a 5. And so now let's take a look at this, and after we've plugged them in, our main thing is we want to get this y all by itself. So there we go, we've got everything plugged in properly. Let's go ahead and distribute would be our next step. So 3/5 times x would get us 3/5 x. And 3/5 times -5, this is what you would do off to the side on your papers. 3/5 times -5. How can I make -5 into a fraction? Put a positive 1 underneath it, and now you can multiply straight across. 3 times -5, 5 times 1. What's -15 divided by 5? It is -3. So this is what I would go and put beside it. After we've distributed, we get -3/5 x, and 3/5 times -5 is -3. So it's 3/5 x minus 3. We didn't do anything with y minus 4, but now we're set up to where we can just literally say, okay, if I add 4 to this side, that cancels it out, and I'm left with my y by itself there. But I have to add 4 to this side to keep the balance of the equation. So 3/5 x plus 1. That is our equation. So what was different on this one? The slope was given to us and they only gave us 1 point. So I didn't have to go through this big long hassle of finding out slope myself. After I found the slope, I got my points into the x1 and y1 slots. We plug them into this formula, right? We distribute, and then we get the y by itself. And the nice thing with this point slope form, this will be like the very last step. It'll always be minus something. And then you just, what you do to one side, you do to the other, and you're free. You've got your equation. So let's do number 2 together. There we go. We've got our given point. Here's the slope of the line that goes through this point. Go get us the equation. Well, we know what the slope is. We don't need to go and plug it in. In fact, we can't. We don't have a second point. But thankfully, they've already given that to us. So the slope equals -2/3, and this is just a reminder, m equals your slope. So now we come down here and we go plug our values in. This is a y, so that's our y1. This is an x, so that's our x1. 3 is our x1, and our slope is m. Now, let's just go into step 2 and let's plug these values straight into this formula. Y1 goes right there, m goes right here, and 3 goes right here at x1. So now, after we've, plugged all of these in, we just go through and we distribute. I can take this screen off and we just go through and we solve. Y minus 0 equals, let's see, negative 2/3 times x is negative 2/3 x. And then I have to figure out what negative 2/3 times negative 3 is. So it'd be positive 6/3, so that's a positive 2. So plus 2. Plus 0 would cancel that out, and plus 0 wouldn't do any change here. So literally what we're able to do, because it's 0, is we're able to say, okay, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. And that's our equation. We're done. The only thing that you need to remember is if I give you 2 points, like here's 1 point and I give you another point instead of the slope, just remember, like we did back here on our first example, if I gave you these 2 points with no slope, you plug it into your slope formula to find your m, and then everything else flows in exactly the way we've been doing it. Hopefully this will help you figure out how to find the equation of a line when we give you 2 points or the slope and a point.